Good morning. This is me, Michelle, and you're listening to episode number 50. I can't believe we're here. I've got this fabulous episode for you for number 50, Expectations versus Intentions. Welcome to the I Cut the Mustard show, where a plant-based diet and small, simple moves make healthy change happen. And where we believe that you already have what it takes to slice through any barrier that stands in your way. Shing! You're sharp enough. You cut the mustard. Hey, good morning. I'm recording. This is my first one of the morning. I always like to say good morning so that you know my voice isn't quite warmed up yet. But I'm so excited to be here in episode number 50. I know sometimes people do like super special episodes and I was racking my brain. It's gotta be special. And then I remembered this idea that I had, this aha that I had recently, and I thought this is perfect to talk about expectations on episode number 50. So I had these big expectations for what I wanted this to be, and it was sort of stressing me out a little bit. And then I said, I just drop that expectation and make a great episode and call it good. So that's what this podcast is about. It's about dropping the expectations, and it's going to be fun. So first I want to talk about this concept of the manual. So I was just listening to this other podcast that I really enjoy called Better Than Happy by Jody Moore. And she was talking about the manual, which she's mentioned in the past, but it's this idea that we have expectations for other people, right? We have a lot of expectations on how we think other people should act. And there's so many of them, it's like a manual, right? So for example, whenever I get married, I have certain expectations about how my husband's supposed to act. You want him to be monogamous. That would be great, right? And then I want him to take out the trash, or I want him to help me with chores. I want him to help me with the kids. I want him to have a job and help pay for stuff, So I have all these expectations about who he should be and what he should do. And I've got a different manual for my friends, right? So my friends should be nice to me, right? They should call me maybe, or they should answer my phone calls. They should text me back at a certain time, speaking of texting, I'm a terrible texter. Sometimes it takes me so long to get back to people. And one of my friends is like, man, you are the worst texter. You should be texting back a little bit quicker, right? So we have just certain expectations about how people should answer our email, how people should answer our text, how people should talk on the phone. We've got all these manuals for how we think other people should act, right? And it's just part of life, right? It's part of our culture that we create expectations for ourselves and for others. And I think in a lot of times it doesn't really matter. I think everything goes pretty smoothly most of the time, and having these expectations maybe isn't really a problem, right? And it kind of helps us understand what we think people might do and how to respond. It's kind of like a cheat sheet for how we live our lives, and our brain likes to be efficient, so it likes to make some cheat sheets that are going to help us figure out how the world works and what we're going to do with it. But I think when we get into trouble is when we think that these manuals that we have for other people, or these expectations that we have, are the truth. They're like written in stone and they're what everyone should do if they're a good person or something. We think that they have some sort of more power than they actually do. So whenever we think that, which is easy to do because, again, our brain likes to take a shortcut and this is the way the world works, this is how it should work, then that's when we get into trouble, because going back to me and my texting, right? If I don't text back as quickly as you're expecting, then maybe you think that I'm not a good friend. Maybe you start thinking that, if you think that's the way it should be, that's how good friends act, then by definition, I am not a good friend, right? Or maybe I don't care about you, or I must care about other things way more than you, or whatever it is. You can have this dialogue going on, trying to figure out why I'm a bad friend, because by definition, good friends do X, right? Or it's the same with our husbands or our spouses or our children. Like, we have a definition of what a good spouse is supposed to be, or what a good child is supposed to be, or a boss or a coworker. And whenever they don't meet those expectations, it can cause us a lot of pain to try to put them into a box. So in this podcast episode I was listening to, she was talking about how whenever we have these manuals for other people, we do one of three things usually, or maybe multiple. Number one, we manipulate, right? We try to change. Manipulate, maybe not necessarily a bad thing, but we're trying to change what's the result of what they're doing, right? So we nag our children or our spouse, we nag them and we make them want to do, or we try to get them to do stuff, or we do snide comments about it maybe, or put reminders on their phone or whatever. So we're trying to manipulate what they're doing so that they can fit our definition of what's a good spouse or friend is, or whatever is supposed to do. Another thing that we could do is avoid or distance ourselves from them. So I think we could probably think of lots of examples, but the one that's coming to mind is with friendships, right? That or family, where someone offends you or someone does something that you don't think they should do, right? Good or bad in your mind, it is bad. So then you think again, maybe they're not a good friend, or maybe you just don't want to be around them anymore because it makes you feel uncomfortable. You feel yucky. You feel like they let you down. You're offended, so you don't want to be around them anymore, right? So you avoid or distance yourself. And then the last one that she mentioned was to pretend. And this one's really funny because we have this little kid book called Gerald and Piggy. It's a Gerald and Piggy series. So in one of the books, Gerald asks his friend Piggy, what's pretending? And Piggy says, pretending is when you act like someone you're not. And Gerald says, you can do that? So then Piggy goes on to explain that everyone does that. We do that all the time. And Gerald asks, even grown-ups? And Piggy says, all the time. So I think that's hilarious because, we're pretending all the time. We're pretending to like things that we don't like in order to appease other people or not offend them. Or, if a friend does something that we don't like, we just keep our mouth shut to keep the peace. I had a conversation about this last episode or 2 episodes ago. So the point is that we do this in our relationships all the time. But while I was listening to this episode, the big aha that I had was that we do this with ourselves also, right? But we have a manual for how we think we should be acting and how we think our life should unfold. So I started to wonder, what's my manual for myself? Like, what are all the shoulds that I have for myself? So I started writing down and just wrote down all of the ones that I could think of out of my head. And it turned out to be a humongous list. I'm just going to share some of them. Like, I should be doing everything perfectly so that I don't disappoint people. I should have more clients, or I should be further along in my business. I should be doing Facebook ads and they should be working, right? I shouldn't be working so much. That's so selfish. Or I should have charity and give lots of money to everyone right now. I should stop changing my mind so much and changing my podcast so much. Or I should follow through on absolutely everything that I promise because integrity is really important to me. I should be efficient. I shouldn't waste my time. I should be focused and productive. I should be organized. My house should be clean all the time. I should be keeping up on my spirituality in a certain way, like praying a certain number of times per day for a certain length of time in a certain way. I should be reading books actively all the time, at least an hour a day. And I should be thinking about other people more. I shouldn't care what they think, right? I should be thinking about them less. As a wife, I should I should have dinner ready for my husband. I should keep the house pretty clean so he can be happy and he can focus on his work. As a mother, I should never yell at my children. I should spend a certain amount of time with them or entertain them in a certain way. I shouldn't let them watch so much TV. I should make them read more. I should show up at school for them in a certain way, right? For myself, I should exercise every day. I should go to bed early. I should always be doing something, always be active. I should say yes when people offer me stuff that's being really kind or make something special for me, right? I should always say yes whenever they ask for help. I should always serve them, right? So that's just some of the list that I came up with, right? Which sounds ridiculous when you start to list it out, that you expect yourself to basically be perfect all the time. And I should be doing this and this and this and this and this and never make anyone mad, right? And be in balance all the time. So there's just so many things, this huge manual. You can see why they call it a manual. Like there's these huge list of things that you kind of expect for yourself, that you expect, maybe that's how I expect to act because I think that's what a good person is, or I think I'm going to be feeling more worthy if I do all those things. I guess I'm not exactly sure where they come from, but we all have this list of things that we think we should be doing. But what I want to offer you today is maybe we don't really know, right? What if we could just drop all those expectations? Maybe we don't really know what the perfect person should do because it's different depending on each culture, right? Different cultures have different expectations. Different families have different expectations. Maybe there's no such thing as like the perfect right life or the perfect friend or the perfect wife or the perfect husband or the perfect employee. So what if you could just drop all those expectations? What if you didn't have any expectations? What if I didn't have expectations for me and you didn't have expectations for you? And what if we just don't know how we're supposed to act or what kind of life we're supposed to have? What if we could just kind of watch it unfold? Right? What if we could let go? And I know what you're thinking right now because I was thinking that too. Like, okay, well, if I let go of all these expectations, what's going to happen? Like, I just won't have any direction in my life. I won't have control, right? But I don't think that's true. And I don't think that these expectations are serving me the way that I think they should. See, right? Whenever I have this list or whenever I listed that out, how was it making you feel? Right? I know how it was making me feel. I was feeling pressured. I was feeling a little bit controlled and frustrated, overwhelmed, and all of these feelings for me. Whenever I think I should act a certain way or I should do a certain thing, number one, I also start to feel regretful that I'm not doing all these things that I'm supposed to do, right? So overwhelmed, I feel regret. I start to feel shame that I'm not a good person and I'm not a good mother or wife, right? And that just leads me into a downward spiral of inaction. All of those things lead to inaction. I'm overwhelmed. I have too much to do. I just want to give up, right? I regret. I'm a terrible person. I just want to go hide, like we said. Or maybe I lash out instead. And I think I've said on several podcasts, like I just don't like being told what to do. And I realized this week it's because I'm tired of telling myself what to do. I tell myself what to do all day long, and that is exhausting. And I'm so tired of that whenever somebody else tells me, oh, it's just too much, right? It just goes over the edge. But what if I just stop telling myself what to do? Because that's not leading me in the direction that I want to go. What if we just let that all go and imagine that there are no expectations? So again, you're feeling lost right now. So I'm going to give you something else to replace it with, right? Because we feel like we need some direction though. We can't just like let everything go because then how do we know what we're supposed to do? What should we do? Right? You're asking me. So instead of expectations, I want you to think of your life in terms of intentions, okay? Because intentions can guide us. They are more about who we are instead of the things that we do. And I think like principles, they can guide our lives in the right direction without making us feel so controlled or restricted or ashamed. And these intentions are going to be based on your values, on the character that you want to have, and who you think a good person is. So they're qualities of a being rather than things of doing. So whenever I thought of this concept this week, I decided, again, I wrote down all of my shoulds. What are all of the expectations that I have for myself? Whew, that's exhausting, and I can't keep those all in my head. Well, I guess I do somehow, right? But it's exhausting to run through those all day. So instead, I wrote a fresh list of basically who I want to be. So I asked myself questions like, who do I want to be? When would I be proud of myself? Or another way that you can think of it is to think of your favorite person or group of people. Like, who do you really look up to? Who are those 2 or 3 people that you really look up to, and what qualities do they have? Who are they, right? So we're looking for things of being and not things of doing, because we already made our doing list, our expectation list. Now we're making our intention list. So I just want to share my list with you to get some creative juices flowing, but your list is going to be different. Everybody's list is going to be a little bit different because we all have different values and we have different intentions for our life. We want to live different lives, which is totally fine. So yours won't all be the same, but here are my intentions. Have fun. Serve people. Leave the world or the person that I'm with better than I found them. Do my best. Extend compassion to myself and others. Be curious and understanding. Be real. Change when necessary. And keep trying. So there's my list. It's a whole lot shorter than the expectation list. And if you notice, I just want you to notice the difference between how it feels whenever I read my shoulds list versus when I read my intentions list. You know, what's the difference of feeling there? When I read the shoulds list, like I said, I felt stuck. I felt overwhelmed. I felt like I wanted to hide, or maybe I want to pretend to be someone I'm not, right? And whenever I read my intentions list, I feel inspired. I feel empowered, right? This is something that I can do. I can do my best, right? Because it's just my personal best, right? As I can do my best. I can love people. I can serve people. I can choose to have fun, right? These are all things that are very doable. They're possible. They expand my understanding of myself. They help me want to be a better person. And I think whenever we focus on our intentions, then we're going to act better. We're going to act out of love, and we're going to act from the inside out rather than feeling forced from the outside in. So I love that concept. I hope you do too. So do what you can. Go ahead and make that expectation list. What are those crazy things that you're holding yourself to all the time? Then I want you to just crumple up that list, rip it up, throw it away, and come up with a new list of intentions. Who do you want to be? And this should be a short list that you can live by, that you can remember and feel inspired by. And if you want to post it up somewhere, shout it to the world, let them know you're not going to have this list for yourself, that you're just going to act in the best way that you know how. And as you do that, you're going to extend that opportunity to other people, have better relationships. Life will be daisies and roses, I promise. So just go out there and enjoy it. And before you go, I just wanted to quickly tell you about a workshop that I'm doing in August, and it is called the Fit Into Your Skinny Jeans Workshop. This is for people who want to lose a couple pounds or a lot of pounds, or people who are having digestive issues, bloating, and other things like that. So how do you fit back into those skinny jeans? And I'm really excited about it. So now in the workshop, you're going to learn how stress sabotages your health and weight loss, why you could be doing all the right things and still not losing weight, why diet and exercise alone aren't working for you, because I run into lots of people that are doing everything they can and you're still stuck, right? So how do you get better results by being less strict with your diet and exercise routine? And then I'm going to go over my simple stop stressing strategy that will maximize weight loss, fat burn, and digestion. And at the end, I'm going to give you my ninja hack that'll just 10 times your results. So I was trying to think of what is the one thing that you're going to take away from this workshop. And I wish I could promise you that you would just drop 20 pounds instantly. But unfortunately, that's not possible in an hour. But what I can promise you is that you'll come and you'll leave feeling empowered, that you'll come and you'll figure out exactly why you've been stuck, and you'll figure out what you need to do in order to move forward. And it's not a magic bullet. It's not a pill that I can't give you a pill that drop 20 pounds, like I said, in 20 minutes, but it's a sustainable, long-lasting solution that you can take with you. And the coolest part about the workshop is that it's going to be live. I'm going to be there coaching you. So I'll teach you the stop stressing tool, but then we're going to practice it together over and over and over. And I'm limiting this workshop to only 20 people so that I can have time to teach all of you, to answer all of your questions personally, to practice with as many of you as possible so that you can get that relief that you want right now for one thing that's stressing you out, so that you can understand the process and be able to apply it in the future, so that over the next 6 weeks to 2 months, you can drop those 20 pounds and they'll stay off, right? So this is the long-lasting, sustainable solution that sticks. So to find the workshop, go to icutthemustard.com/stop stressing workshop and sign up today. What's one thing that's really been weighing you down? Are you ready to kick it to the side? Then join me for a Stress Less call today, where you'll learn the #1 mindset tool that I use to stop stressing and find relief right now. Go to icutthemustard.com/stressless to sign up for that call today.